40,000.
40,000 or 40,100 or
40,000.
40,100 like 4,000 chal raha
Yeah.
hai ab dekhiye na maine kaha khate ko bola like choose to this number
No,
so much.
how do you do this live stream again?
Huh?
How do you go YouTube live stream?
More.
Yes, you go more.
I'm live up there.
And you go live.
Click here.
And then you go to this one.
Yeah. Understand.
Or do you go to not me? Sorry. Or go live.
No, it's not.
Don't go live.
No.
It's not talking to us. Okay. The live stream feature for your account may not be enabled. After enabling live stream, it may take 24 hours for Google to activate the account.
No.
We've still got this message saying it's not enabled.
It's seeing like that.
No.
There should become 3 account actually.
Yeah, it should go to her.
3 account.
It goes there first, isn't it? And then you click on her and then it comes to then this. But it's not. Oh, for a tactician.
It should become, the centers. Annie, you set up the YouTube one?
The YouTube we're having trouble with. You couldn't connect.
That's your YouTube, Jimmy. Lomas, eh? More. I'm going to choose a delay. Choose the Sum Shergi. Thanks for me. I'm going to. Put back on the door. Yeah, okay. Okay, so now we do this prayer to Manjushri. Lama Dangumbo Jembo Yang Lai Janzo Lo Kongi Londrin Jimyen Jinda Nidara Nandara Jinyen Dengun Jijin Sijir Nidji Tukara Lekvam Zen Kanda Sip Sendora Mari Mintum Dunga Gizirvi Dozo Kunla Puji Tazi Yen Lain Tuju Yanden Zon Dodar Chejo Nyimo Nyilo Leji Chadro Doze Jen Mari Menze Dunga Nyoku Jinyen Jenze Ralje Nam Dene Daji Saji Tarzan Yunden Lizo Jaze Duembo Chudan Chudan Chunyin Jinde Galim Minzen Jambe Yala Marabazanandi 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 Umara Pazanandi 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 Zeden Jiji Chenra Vizrenji Dali Demo Mimbaramsa Kadan Denji Junlo Tobai Lodre Pupi Nawa Sandu So Dezon Sanji Tanji Jemo Redanji Burjanji Jada Kanin Sunda Majiba Palo Jinji Jijabe Jidujima Mebala Guira Dutide Buzum Gubajibe Bonen Chanza Shinja Zujio Shivan and Zero Tanji Dutuji Jesus Marzaduzo Kangisha Santo Mum Gizar Zimbabwe Simbizi Zendu Barvendo Kunmigin to Zijur Tujinama Kuneshu Ranjiten Sumji Conchabe Tuambe Monkarbe Shabe Tirindale Inzurujo Genzolembe Mendombo Zeranjavenam Doranshin and Jido Sanzubeji Bichombarvi Pema Junen Dali Inzurujo Bolo Doria Dewadan Tome Yenchulan Jinda Jujun Janum Yimbozo Zanlin Jenju Namji Dai the Garanjin Bolo and then Gunjunga Vishas of the Yimbidens, Bebe Nanjurba. Time Vizir Shabjin Daisho, Ridonjam Bashinale, Gombilon Lepo Bete Jedo, Lundo Jam Wanjura, Mepom Jambi Anji Daisho. Kangidala Rivalova Dan, Dojitin Jemingano Lazo, Labata, Gurushin Mujitin Lamen Daisho, Namo Guru, Jinyapametunji, Jezala Punja Ranjun to Jibetin, to Jigala Gametanawa, Walden Lami Jajen Daisho, Yende Sanjekundanyam Naya, Kadin Sanjekunel Habikran, Lami Shala Swande, Ozundo Lamna Jelanger, Pondo Judong Jidena, the Shelo Marjuba Consuda, and the Dambijambebe. Simbara Deva Dandir Jeje, Namoria Damba, like Danu Danjinge, and Runda Dami, Gananda, Dog and Jitanam Jitambar. Tamji Gedu Sosurute Jurji Manjurando Nankatanyam Besim Tamji, Jitendu, Jazi Tebachimbe Shunlo, Jazichimbo Shivala, Teni Jizebe, Chanjusimbe Chebalan Jupateni, Sushin Lucene, Yamsulan Jo and Samba Shanchucho, Tukeva Danchi de Sensao. So first, generate Bodhisattva, thinking that start from one's dearest and having a sense, spread it out the same sense to help or support or liberate how we wish to help, support, liberate from difficulties to one's own dearest. The same sense, spread it out to each and every individual sentient beings equal to their space, and to free them. For that purpose, I'm going to listening this Mahayana scripture composed by Shantideva, the title A Way of Bodhisattva's Life. And then are we going to put into practice? Are we going to implement it with that kind of intentions or motivations? Listen this teachings. And this is something preparing the intention or the purpose of this listening Dharma teaching in this way is always very crucial, important. Otherwise, that this listening Dharma teaching becomes just a meritorious activities, not the Mahayana merit. So in order to transform this merit into the Mahayana merit, then we must generate this kind of intentions first. And then after having that kind of intention, the putting the purpose of listening this Dharma teaching in this way, and then try to modify it, the manner that now everybody listening from home. So, but still, while you're listening Dharma teachings, you need to, you need to be respect, which means don't just listening while laying down or sleeping, kind of like on the bed, or not like that. Why we are arranging all this proper chairs, tables, and then sitting properly, and why we are doing. So otherwise, if we don't need to respect in this way, then maybe I can also just stay in my room, lay down on my bed, and then open this laptop, and then while I am laying down like this, and then I can also talk, right? So, but that's not the case. So therefore, anyone who ever listening, so listen with the respect way, the manner, that listen carefully in an excellent way, and then try to hold it, right? And then through the kind of like a physical body also with the respect, with the willingly show that how the, when we are in the center, how we sitting properly, how we not talking with someone else, how we are doing. Exactly, although we are listening this from home, but still it is better to, maintain this conduct or manner, that same manner as how we are doing usually in center. And this is how we should prepare. This is the preparation part, and we complete it. And then now the actual teaching, the way of Bodhisattva's life, which has a 10 chapter and 4 theme. So the first theme is why and how to have, how to generate and how to have Bodhisattva's vow within oneself. And then the second theme is how to maintain properly. And then third one is further how one should develop. And then fourth theme is how to dedicate and make aspirations out of this merit. Among these 4 themes, we are here in the second theme, how to maintain this Bodhisattva's vow properly. And for that, I needed this sense of carefulness, means understanding the precepts and what really make transgress our Bodhisattva's vow, and all understanding, based on understanding all those precepts that related with one's individual's capability or faculties, that for the lesser faculties, 1 precepts, and then mediocre faculties, 4 precepts, and then the higher faculties, and 18, adding another 2, it's 20 precepts. So these are the precepts that are based on understanding that, and then with the sense of carefulness, and try to not transgress any of those precepts, the sense of carefulness. And with the carefulness, and in order to maintain properly, we need this vigilant and introspections. kind of like the checking or analyzing one's own way of thinking, the attitude or the mind. Making sure not crossing all these boundaries. And then likewise, the third one is the patient. Yes, the patient is the very, as I always saying, it is this actually, yes, sense of carefulness, vigilant introspection, these patients are needed, even kind of like that people who are spending their normal life, and it is always better to have those, and especially this patience. Yes, as long as we are living in a society, living with the society, or living with the community, or living with the family, relatives, friend, oh, this patient, it's, if you have it, you can live very peaceful, happy life. If you don't have it, and bodhicitta is far, even you cannot live happily with your spouse, with your family, with your relatives, friends, neighbors, and then community, even far, far. It becomes far and far. And therefore, this patience is something needed for each and every one, every individual, even for the countries, those who are kind of like leading the countries, such as a king or president or whatsoever. Those leaders, political leaders or businessmen, or even starting from this, these are considering the top man of the, according to the worldly, mundanely, right? And then to bottom, like a poor beggar that who is begging, and then each and every individual of those, this, if we lack this quality, this characteristic, then for sure we will going to end up with the troubling whole this world. And now we can see, because people are losing their tolerance, because people are losing their patience. Therefore, how many problems already created, as we can see by our naked eye right now at the moment. We don't have to look so very far. We don't have to look histories. We don't have to look something so and such 10 years, decade before. We don't have to look that like way. We can just look right now what kind of situations going on at the moment within this world, within each and every country. Because of this is all problem. One reason is this one, this we are lacking this characteristic or this quality, which patient. So then, therefore, even a very simple, tiny, small, this sleeping, proper sleeping, we are now, some people may not getting proper sleep every night because of this, already disturbed by all these circumstances and situations. And mainly, if we really look carefully back and back in the main reason, it will going to become like a lacking of patience. Anyway, so now we are already moved so forward. So now it's difficult to see back. But still, it is worth if we are able to practice from now, kind of like a practice this patience. Anyway, so this patience is needed even though one wants to live a normal life. One wants to live, even one doesn't want to practice this Mahayana spiritual path, but still this patience is needed. And then for a person who is willing to engage or practice the Mahayana spiritual path, absolutely. So without patience, it's no way. And we will going to transgress this our bodhisattva's vow all the time if we don't have this patience. And therefore, and then especially if we want to practice ourselves or engage into Mahayana path, then this patient must. Generally, as I said earlier, everybody, even if I just want to spend normal life, but still I needed this. This is so important, regardless. And then how to practice patience. Then so far until now, within this 6th chapter, Shantideva described the consequences or the fault of anger. Because anger is the emotion which destroying the patience, which destroying the what do you call it, the quality, the patience. So in order to practice patience, we need to understand the first what it is, what's the, how to say, what is the, it's kind of like a, what do you call it? What is the exact thing which disturbs to have a patience within oneself, which is anger. So anger and patience cannot stand together at all. These two will never going to stand together. The person whoever have a patience, he or she definitely not going to have an anger. When someone have an anger, and definitely he or she will not going to have a patience at that moment. So the patience and anger is like the kind of like a will not going to be standing on same positions. It means within one mind. The one mind cannot carry both these two senses at the same time. So this patient, so therefore we need to understand first what really disturbs for me to have a patient, which is anger. So we need to understand that one, and then in order to in order to have some sense that I should remove this anger, then we should understand the consequences of anger or the faults of anger. So that's why Shantideva describing first, introducing the anger, and then anger's consequences or the fault of anger. And then later, and then Shantideva is introducing and how to practice patience. So, and then also to the in order to practice the patience, then we need to also understand what are the situations or circumstances which triggers our anger emotions. Then he introducing those mainly 4 things, as we again and again we talk so many times now. I hope everybody, when we just say 4 things, you all understand. Well, I don't have to say one by one. And that's very important. You need to memorize too, okay? Later, once we finish this chapter, and then we might going to leave 2 sessions for test about this 6th chapter, what you learn from this 6th chapter, okay? At that time, whatever I ask questions, you may need to able to answer. I will going to ask all the questions related with this chapter, not the out of this chapter, don't worry. So you should study this chapter, and then when we take test at the end of the this chapter, then you may need to make yourself able to answer all the questions. I will going to ask the question from randomly, from picking up from different stanzas or different the what do you call it, the how many skills or methods that Shantideva already provided for how to deal with these patients, right? So I will do that. So I'm just reminding you that this is what we're going to do later. Then, yes, and then understanding those 4 circumstances, and which are the mainly triggers our anger emotions. First understand that. And then after understanding this, when any of those 4 circumstances occur to oneself, how one should practice patience. And when this happens to one's relative, how one should practice patience. And then reversely, when it happens to our enemy, how I should practice patience. And then that exactly 4 things when occur to my enemies. My enemy, how to say, it is something like that. When any of those 4 things happens to my enemy, and then if someone else comes and try to solve these problems, at that moment also we get angry. And then at that moment, how to deal with this anger emotions. How to say that that the last 2nd sessions we talked about it. And then today's continuous topic is the mainly then this reverse 4, that when what do you call this how I said it in English yesterday, how to implement patience when someone hindrance on wishes of self and relatives. Yeah, this is the main topic from this stanza 90 to stanza 111, almost 22 stanza. It's all talking about how to practice the patience when this kind of situations happen, right? So which means those 4 things, the reverse 4 things, right? So this is what we wish for ourselves, we wish for our relatives as well. And when any of those 4 wishes to oneself or to my relatives, when it is about to experience or about to happen to oneself and one's relatives, and then in the middle, if someone comes and disrupt and not let it happen, then at that moment we get mad and anger, right? So now from all this from here, so how to practice patience, how to think and how to be a patient at that moment during those situations. And then from this stanza 90 to 102, this almost 12 stanzas that we completed with the 4 different skills, methods, how to deal with our anger emotions and not to let it arise. And then today we are here in this stanza 103. Stanza 103, and then now from here another skill that Shantideva was providing. And then always remember this, I always telling you, right? So this all skills are not necessary for one person, okay? This is scripture, so therefore Shantideva was providing all the different skills. It is kind of like an option, giving us an option. So any of one skills makes sense to oneself, and that is the good, how to say, that is the good enough for oneself, for individual. And then just keep that in your memory, and then utilize that whenever one gets anger, and utilize that method all the time. And then if one method is not enough, sometimes we need 2, then we can add another one. So, but anyhow, Shantideva already provided now here many skills, methods. Almost so we didn't count it, right? Almost like 40-50 skills already provided so far until now. But still, there's another skills or methods how to control our emotion, anger emotion, providing continuously from this stanza 103. So the next method how to control our anger emotion start from this stanza 103. Let me read this first in Tibetan. Kaltenda ki rangchonji dila seba mijena sonam yuni nyernelpa dila dagik chebar says. Kanshi kangme minjungla kangshik yena yojurba Teni Dei Gyuina, Chidar de la Geshi Chas. That's the, okay, that's one. And then Tusu Chimbi, Longmo we, Jimbi Keji, Yumain, Rabdu Jimbar, Chegyurba, Rabjung, Geshi Charme Rung, Jidendani, Longwame, Neba Cheba, Kumbate, Didera Penne, Majena, Gaya, Neba Mijedo, Steve Alwe, Madrupi, Kim Duterne Jungatar. Chanchup Chubi, Drogurbe, Nagedala, Gawarsha, Didanda, Drubena, Teacher Subi, Jebuni, Tila Toman, Darwete. Detara teni subi gyu kalde sudrup sam mepe ndade choja minshena druba yini gyurungwa tambi chojan chide chus. From this stanza 103 to 109, so almost 7 stanza, isn't it? This 7th stanza, and we can combine as a one method, one skills. So some of them are example. Okay, I will tell you accordance with. So how they translated here. And if I fail to practice patience, hindered by my own shortcomings, I myself create impediments to merit's cause, yet so close at hand. If something does not come to be when something else is absent, and does arise that factor being present, that factor is indeed its cause, how can it then be said to hinder it? Is it easy to understand? Yes, these are not so difficult to understand. These are very easy to understand. But let me tell you this one, this 2 stanza. This 2 stanza is the meaning. So what it is really telling us is if I am unable to implement the patience out of my own fault, and then person who is creating harm or disturbing me, the fact it is the cause of merit, which is very near or close to myself. This cause of merit is getting close to myself, and I myself, out of my fault, out of my incapable, that I am failed to implement the patience. So how that someone creating trouble or problem, how I could say that's the hindrance? That I myself being hindrance for my own cause of merit. This is what it is saying. So Shantideva was letting us think this way. Instead of you blaming other when someone creating problem to me, instead of blaming them, I should blame myself. My enemy, or the other person who is creating problem to me, actually they bringing, which means that the cause of the merit is getting very close to myself. And then now, out of my own incapable to practice patience, or out of my own fault, I neglected this. I neglected, or I refused it, or I rejected that cause of merit. I rejected. So therefore, if you really contemplate clearly, isn't it actually I myself is hindering to, I myself hindrance to get this opportunity to practice patience, isn't it? That's the one way that Shantideva was letting us think. And then continues going, why? It is because Kanshik mena minjung ways, Kanshik kangme minjung las, means this kind of patient practice without someone creating problem to me will not going to be happening. It is impossible for me to able to practice patience if there's nobody is disturbing me. And then when there exists that someone creating problem to me, then there's a possibility, there's also exist that practice patience. This practice patience is something impossible if there's no one who is disturbing me, who is creating problem to me. So therefore, the fact is actually the other person who is creating problem is the actually condition or the cause or the conditions of my patient, my patient. And how, if you really contemplate in a very deep way, how you can say instead how I can say he's hindrance or he's creating obstacles. He is the obstacles for me. The fact he is doing some favor to me, that's what Shantideva means here. So instead of thinking obstacles or hindrance, you need to understand that he is doing favor. He or she is doing favor, actually, the fact. This is something very difficult to think, yes. And then in a very obvious way, there's no obvious that we can see that if we don't contemplate. This fact we will going to able to see only when we contemplate properly. If we contemplate properly in this way, and then we might understand this. Yes, it is truth. If there's no one who is disturbing me, who is creating problem to me, then how can I practice patience? That's truth, that's fact. But normally we don't think that. And when someone disturbs, even tiny, that when someone look in a very bad way, we immediately, oh, why are you looking at me like this, right? Even looking, gesture. And then if someone say harsh word, something use bad word towards me, then I immediately, actually these are the fact that when someone using bad words, harsh words towards me, and then this is the very situations that the other person's creating opportunity, doing favor to me, the fact, for practice patience. But in able to think in this way, it's challenge because we used to get anger with that kind of situations all the time. So therefore now Shantideva was letting us think in a different way rather than as how we think as usual. So he's trying to letting us think in a completely different way than the normal, than the usual. Okay, not the normal, than the usual. So the usually in a worldly, mundanely, and if you don't know how to get mad and anger and fix when someone create problem to you, then you are a very useless person, isn't it? But according to spiritual, it's completely different. You become very useful person. But with the sense of understanding, okay, not a foolish way, Not a foolish way that some dumb or foolish doesn't know how to fix problem, and then doesn't know actually this is the that enemy is doing favor to me. Not knowing any of these things and then just not responding, then that's not really count as a really smart according to the spiritual either. Okay, so that means mundanely, worldly, you are useless, and spiritually also useless. So, but with the sense of understanding all this picture clearly, and then still practicing patience, understanding that he is doing favor, not the creating problem. With that kind of understanding, with that kind of clear informations, and then practicing patience. And then that becomes, even though according to the mundane, you may consider as a useless, but according to spiritual, you're a very useful person. Okay? And then the next one is the example. Next one is the example that, which is the beggar. The stanza 105 is the example. The stanza 103 and 104, 104 are the meaning. So now this example Shantideva was trying to make more clear. The beggar who arrive at proper times are not an obstacle to generosity. We cannot say that those who give the vows are hindrance to ordination. What? This is Chimbilome, Jimbi Keji Yamay. Rabdu Jimbar Che Gurba, Rabjum Keshi, Charmi Roms. It can make sense, but still I have doubt now this how they translated this one. Okay, so the way they translated here, it's kind of like a showing two different examples. The first one is that the beggar who arrive at proper times are not an obstacle to generosity. Yes, the people who are willing to practice generosity. And you cannot say when beggar arrived at proper time. So beggar arriving at proper time is the favor, isn't it? Favor for the person who willing to generosity, who willing to practice generosity. It is not the obstacles. Likewise, this is example, right? This is an example. Likewise, the person who is willing to practice patience, those disturbance and creating problems, it's actually they are doing favor, not the obstacles, not the hindrance. As well as we cannot say that those who give the vows are hindrance to ordinations. And this, I doubt a little bit, they translate it in this way, but it still works. It can works. That same example that we can, it can help us to understand more clear above meaning as someone who willing to take ordinations. And then there are those kind of like a kembos or the scums to give this vow. And then those kembos are not the hindrance to ordination, isn't it? You wish to become ordained, and then they are come to give an ordination. And you cannot say they are my obscurations or obstacles. In the same way, this is an example. But this example, I don't think this is really Shantideva talk in here too in Tibetan. This is, it can be works, but this is something. Rab the Jimbar Che Gurba, Rab Jung Ke She Charmirong. Okay, so I have little doubt on this translation, but it seems, yeah, it is still works. However, it can help us to understand that mainly the meaning is that clear. The person who willing to practice patience, and then someone or the encounter someone who creating problem is the not the obstacles. Actually, the fact it is favor. That person's doing some favor, giving opportunity for me to practice patience. That's what it means. And then the beggar in this world are numerous. So the comparing, now this is number wise, also Shantideva comparing. The beggar in this world are numerous. Compared with the assailants are comparatively few. What is that? Assailants. What is that? Attacker. Assailant. Yeah. Assailants are comparatively few. Yes, compare with the beggar, assailants are very few. And those assailants are, okay, so generally, compare with the beggar, assailants are generally few. And then particularly, for if I do not harm to those assailants, others, those others assailants do not injure to me, right? Although there's so many assailants, but if you don't do anything to them, they won't disturb you. Like in this world, how many, I don't know, so how many mafias are there, right? And then likewise, those, how many drug dealers and so on, those gangsters are there, many in the world, right? But compared with the beggar, they are few. In general, they are few. Beggars are more than assailants, general. And then even these mafias are considering as assailants, but if you don't do anything to them, they won't bother you, right? They won't do anything to you. And if you don't do something that makes them makes them focus on you, then they won't do anything to you, right? That's why it is mean. For if I do not harm to others, others do not injure to me. So, therefore you need to understand. So, like a treasure found at home, which means now, without harming others, if there's somebody who's coming at your home and come to you and harming you, which is like a treasure found at home. That's strange, isn't it? Normal people doesn't want to think that, actually. Now Shantideva was letting us think that. It is like a treasure found at home. You didn't put much effort, you got enemy. That is finding enemy. What Shantideva was here indirectly saying is, finding enemy is like a treasure found at home. You found some treasure at your home, unnoticedly, unwillingly. That I have gained without fatigue. Is it fatigue? Fatigue. Just fatigue. Fatigue. Fatigue means without putting effort. Oh. Tired. Oh. Without fatigued. Without fatigued. Yes, without tired or without fatigued. My enemies are helpers in my bodhisattva's work, and therefore they should be a joy to me. They should be a joy to me. What is that? They should be joy to me.
Yeah, because they're helping me.
Oh, yes, yes.
exercise my
And therefore, they should be a joy to me. Yes. Encountering with them should make me joy instead of anger. That's what Shantideva was saying. Instead of anger, you should feel joy encountering with your enemy. See, now this is completely contradicting with the mundane's way of thinking. Yes. But this is really works if one able to think this way. This is very great one antidote to control our anger emotions. And this is fact too. This is fact. Just like that above example, right? 105 stanza. The beggar who arrive at proper time are not an obstacle to generosity. Likewise, we cannot say that those who gives the vow are hindrance to the ordination. Similar way, those enemies that we cannot say they are hindrance for my patient. They are not hindering for my patient. They are actually doing favor for my patient. So that's why instead of hated anger, I should joy to them. That's what Shantideva was saying here. Now, this is a very completely different way of thinking now. Maybe some people, this idea doesn't work. This idea, they will say, as soon as they heard this idea, this skill, this method, how to control my anger, we may feel, oh, this idea, how it works, how it is possible that it can work. It can reduce my anger emotion. Maybe you think that, but if you really contemplate properly, then it really makes sense. It is exactly like that. Those example makes very clear, right? That if you want to practice generosity, then beggars are not your hindrance. And if you want to practice patience, enemies is not your hindrance. That's the same way. Therefore, since I have grown in patience thanks to them instead of hated, to them its first fruit I should give. For of my patience they have been the cause. So now this is something we cannot really give, but what Shantideva was really saying this stanza 108 is that if there is something possible that we can give this merit to someone, and they are the first proper object that to whom you should share this merit, to whom you should share this patience, their merit of patience. That's what he meant. That if the kind of like a fruition or the result of the patient, if it is able to share, if it is able to dedicate, or if it is able to give, then my enemy is the very first proper object for me to share, for me to give. That's what he meant. But this fruition, the person who ever practice patience, they will going to experience it anyway. But what Shantideva means, this is kind of like a hint. This is kind of like a hinting that normally what we think, oh, the fruition of patience, share with them. No. I put it effort. I deserve this. He not deserve. That's what we think, right? But actually what Shantideva was really saying, the fact is he deserved that. Because he created this condition, created this opportunity to me to able to practice patience. So therefore this my patience, this my patient, that it comes from him. It comes from, without him, this my practice patient is impossible. So therefore, fruition of my patience, actually he also deserves. That's what it means. So when someone deserves the fruition of patience, how that object becomes for us to get anger. That's the hint. Okay. And also further, there should be use. And then now this is something like a raising some doubt, some question when we say that. And if I say my foes should not be honored, since they did not mean to stimulate my patience, right? Why do I revere the sacred Dharma? Cause indeed of my attainment. Cause indeed of my attainment. What do you understand by this stanza? This stanza is very showing one. Shantideva was kind of like a giving us one very tricky, interesting idea. What are you getting it, Ani? What are you getting it from this stanza? This stanza is very interesting. Huh?
So why do I review? So why do I following this path if I cannot keep my toes on? Because it's my toes that facilitate me being able to practice.
That's what you're getting from this stanza, the way they translated?
Yeah, and because they're the causes and conditions.
No, this is not talking about that way. Okay, so let me say here. After all, until this stanza 108, after describing all in this way, but still I'm finding some excuse why my enemy is not really, he is doing favor to me. I'm still trying to find excuse here. If I say my foes should not be the honored, because since they did not mean to stimulate my patience. If you say so, that's what Shantideva means. If you say this way, then what Shantideva was saying, you should not revere, or you should not kind of like a, what do you call them? You should not revere and honor to Dharma as well, because Dharma doesn't have any Dharma also doesn't have the, what do you call it? Mean to stimulate you to attain enlightenment. This is what it means. This is very interesting. Shantideva, if I find excuse that no, my enemy is not the honorable person, because my enemy doesn't have any means for me to stimulate my patience. If I say so, then what Shantideva was saying, equal to this answer, then what Shantideva was saying, then you should not pay respect and practice this Dharma. You should not pay respect to Dharma, yes. We should not pay respect or reverence to Dharma, because Dharma also doesn't have any means for me to stimulate my enlightenment or attainment. That's not true, right? Dharma doesn't have any means. Dharma is just idea, right? Nobody. Dharma is nobody. Isn't it? Shantideva trying to block all the doors to not find any scapegoat to honor to your enemy. Whatever way Shantideva wants to conclude and come to the bottom line that your enemy is your honorable person. Okay? So if okay, that's not becomes the right reason, right? If that becomes right reason, then maybe I should not revert to Dharma as well, because Dharma doesn't have any mean for me to stimulate my practice. Stimulate, right? Stimulate my practice. My practice is spiritual. Dharma doesn't have any mean for that. Dharma is just Dharma. Also, this is interesting here. In Tibetan, we used to say, Dharma means, Dharma is honorless. Whoever capable to own it, you can own it. Chö damela, what do you call it? Say that. Chö damela. Therefore, interesting, this Marba, you know, the great master Marba, his concert name is Honorless. Damema. He named his concert. He named his concert Honorless. Damema. Her name is Damema, actually, you know. Her name is Damema. And then this Dharma is also like that. Dharma is honorless. And whoever able to own, they can own. Nobody can prevent to own that Dharma. Okay, anyway, so this is very interesting, isn't it? So that's the, until here, one skill. So the main skill is, instead of considering your enemy is kind of like a hindrance, the fact my enemy is doing some favor to me. This is the main point Shantideva was letting us think, and then reduce one's anger emotion towards enemy, towards any person who disturbing my wishes and my relative wishes. This is the main topic, right? Right now, what we're talking about, when someone hindrance to my own wishes or to my relatives' wishes, at that time, how to practice patience, how to reduce, control the anger emotion, right? In this way, thinking in this way helps to reduce our anger emotion. You should think this way. That's what Shantideva was saying. With this, now complete the 5th skills or methods. And then the next one. Kalte nradi nöshavi samyu choja minshena memba shindu pensena dagiseba jidratu dewe rabtu dangsemla tenne seba kevena tingi sebi gyuimbe tambi choshin chebar words. This is related with the above method. Okay, it's related. Yeah, stanza 110 and 111. This enemy conspired. Is it conspired? What is that? Conspired to harm me. Okay, this enemies conspire to harm me. I protest and therefore should receive no honor. But had they worked to help me like a doctor, how could I have brought forth patient? So now this is another again. This is another trying to finding excuse. Okay? Another trying to finding excuse is yes, before, it's related with the before, okay? If I say yes, how to say, Dharma is also doesn't have any mean for me equal to my enemy. My enemy doesn't have any mean for me to stimulate my passions. Likewise, Dharma doesn't have any mean for me to stimulate my practice, my spiritual journey. That's equal, right? And then now, when Shantideva made it this two equal, then now I am also trying to finding another excuse here. Yes, Dharma doesn't have mean for that. But also Dharma doesn't have harmed for me. In this case, my enemy have an intention to harm to me. That's different if I say so. This is what it means, okay, Shantideva. This enemy conspired to harm me, right? I protest and therefore should receive no honor. Because Dharma doesn't have any mean for me to stimulate my practice, the spiritual path. Yet, as well as Dharma also doesn't have any conspire to harm me too. And that part, it's different. That's now, I am trying to find excuse, okay? If I say so, if I say this way, therefore, this enemy becomes, therefore, should receive no honor, right? This enemy should receive no honor. If I say so. And then answer is, but had they worked to help me like a doctor, how could I have brought forth patient? This is the answer. Even enemies are treating you like a doctor, treating me like a doctor, then to whom I should practice, to whom I should practice patience? There's no way for me to able to practice patience. So therefore, forget it. Totally, what Shantideva was totaling down, forget it thinking about that way. From the perspective of Dharma doesn't have any mean for me to stimulate my spiritual practice, spiritual journey, and then the enemy doesn't have any mean for me to practice, stimulate my patience. That is equal. Yes, that is equal. But from the other perspective, Dharma doesn't have any mean, as well as Dharma doesn't have any conspire to harm me either. But this enemy has conspired to harm me. Therefore, the enemy is not become right object for me to revere or pay honor. If I say so, then what Shantideva was saying, if even enemies treating you like a doctor, then to whom you will going to practice patience? So forget it thinking that way. This is what it means, Shantideva was. So don't think in this way. This will not going to be good excuse for you to able to practice patience. This thinking this way will going to hindrance yourself to practice patience. Thinking this way will hindrance myself to be able to practice patience. So means, bottom line, forget about thinking this way, negative way. Therefore, dewe rabdu tangsem la tene sebakevenas. Thanks to those whose minds are full of malice, I engender passion in myself. They therefore are the cause of my passion, fit for veneration like the Dharma. Because of those hatred, based on those hatred which I get, that creating opportunity for me to able to generate passion. Therefore, they are the one, the fact, the condition, or the cause of my passion. So therefore, those enemies are also need to venerate like how we venerate Dharma. So this enemy is equal object of veneration as the Dharma, in short. Okay, so now with this, Shantideva actually complete all the methods how to deal with our anger emotion. This 24, do you remember earlier I said it, mainly 4, right? 4 when occurs to oneself, how to deal with. And then this 4 when occurs to my relative, how to deal with it. And then reversely 4 when it occurs to my enemy, how I should deal with my anger emotion. And then this 4 unfavorable, the same 4 unfavorable, when it is about to occur to my enemy, and then someone comes, interrupt in between, and then remove them, solve them. At that time, how I should practice patience, how I should control my anger emotion. And likewise, to myself and my relatives, when any of the 4 favorable about to happen, right? 4 favorable means this is a little tricky. Yes, even in Tibetan here, this is, if you don't really think, contemplate, you can't really imagine what this 4 here, it's talking about 4, and then reverse, and then back to reverse, and then back to reverse. It is like that, tricky, yeah. Move forward, backward, move forward, backward. It moves like that way. That's how we count those 24 circumstances, situations, which triggers our anger emotion. So until now, described completely this 24 circumstances, 24 situations. And within these 24 situations, how to control anger emotions. And now this is all based on a present. And now the past, those 24 circumstances. Future, those 24 circumstances. When past and future and then present count 24, 24, 24, that becomes 72 circumstances or 72 situations which triggers our anger emotions. But this past and future didn't really provide it here, because once you understand once we understand how to deal my anger emotion with the present 24 circumstances, that the same idea to the past 24 circumstances, and then to the future 24 circumstances either. So future and past 24 circumstances actually not described it in a word, in a book. Okay? In a book, in a scripture itself, only describe the present 24 circumstances which triggers our anger emotion, hated emotion. And then when any of those 24 circumstances occur to oneself how to deal. And this all many different skills, methods. Shantideva now completed, okay? Mainly all the methods, how to practice patience, it's complete here. Now from here, what we can say, from here, still Shantideva providing some other method, other skills. But these are, we can say, like tips. These are tips. Not really. But you know, this tips is a little bit different than the normal tips. This tips itself is very powerful. This tips is kind of like 100% tips sometimes. Yeah. So now from here, Shantideva providing 3 different tips. Okay, 3 different tips from here. Stanza 112. From 112. So it's not that difficult to understand. Maybe we should go a little bit quick. There's another 3 tips. So the first tip is from this stanza 112 to 118. Okay, 118. Almost 7 stanza, isn't it? Yeah, 7th stanza. This 7 stanza from 112 to 118. That's the first tips, which is it's saying Simjin la kubar chawala sonam ji shingdu samdes. Simjin la kubar chawala sonam ji shingdu samdes. Sumba Simjin la kubar chawala sonam ji shingdu samde kubar chawas. Yeah. So now sonam ji shingdu samde kubar chawa. This is from this stanza 112 to 118, this 7 stanza talking about this first tips, which is how to say, how to translate. Sonam ji shingdu samde kubar shawas. We need to, how to say, reverence to the beings, generally all kind of being, including enemy. Yes, absolutely. And think all those beings are actually filled of merit. Understand or think this all beings are my filled of merit, and then pay veneration or rever, right? Reverence. Yeah. So this is the tips that Shantideva was letting us think that all the others beings are actually, if you really able to contemplate, think, they are actually filled of merit. Filled of merit now. Normally filled of merit, we consider Buddhas are filled of merit. Right? Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are filled of merit. And we never thought it now. All the beings are filled of merit. Now Shantideva was telling us here, not only Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, but also all the beings are actually filled of merit. Our filter of merit. So understand that how they are my filter of merit. Then instead of anger, pay reverence. That is what it means now. This is still Shantideva was giving us some tips to how to control anger emotion, hated emotion. Instead of hating them, instead of angering them, we should pay reverence, because they are filled of merit. And how they are filled of merit. And then Shantideva was telling us here with the reason why all the beings are filled of merit. Techir semjen shingdani gyalvi shingshe tube songs. Teda guje mamboshik tetar punsok parol chins. Semjen namdan gyalwale sanje chödup dawala gyalla kuche deshendu semjen lamin chi chuls. Okay. So now Shantideva was providing the reason why, how they are filled of merit, how the beings are filled of merit. Okay? How the beings are filled of merit, then answer is, and so the mighty sage has spoken of the field of beings as well as of the field of conquerors. They translated this conquerors, right? Normally they translated this victorious one. So victorious one is better, isn't it? Rather than conqueror. But same thing, right? Same thing, yeah. But what I have heard before is that when we use this word conqueror means a little bit with the force. It has a sense a little bit negative there.
If you're the losing side, then that's the conqueror.
Yes, you see?
So if you're the losing, not if you're the losing.
Yeah. So, but victorious also has that sense.
Well, if you're on the same side as the person who's the conqueror, then they're the victorious one.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so it's
Yeah,
dualistic.
yeah.
It's dualistic.
And many who brought happiness to beings have passed beyond attaining to perfections. Thus, the state of Buddhahood depends on beings and on Buddhas equally. What kind of practice is it then that honors only Buddhas but not beings? You see how Shantideva was making this, all beings are actually filled of merit, our field of merit. So let me describe here what does it mean. Firstly, Shantideva was taking the reference that what actually Shakyamuni Buddha said about. What he's saying, Shakyamuni Buddha himself also said that the field of merit has two types of field of merit. Beings field of merit and Buddha's field of merit. Both are field of merit. That's what he said. One thing. First, Shantideva giving this is a reason. This is because Buddha also said. Buddha said field of being and field of Buddhas. He didn't only say field of merit is only Buddhas. He said field of merit's beings. Field of merit is beings, field of merit of Buddhas. He said this two field of merit, not one. And then likewise, in the past, all those Buddhas became Buddha, attained to perfection, because they revere many beings. They revere this first field of merit, which is beings. And they made them kind of like a, what do you call it? Brought happiness to beings. Many who brought happiness to beings have passed beyond attaining to perfections. All those Buddhas attained to perfection. Is it? Attained to perfection. Attained to perfection, one reason is because they brought happiness to beings. Therefore, they are attaining to perfections. They pass beyond attaining to perfections. You see? That's the one reason, Shantideva. Therefore, beings are actually filled of merit. Without being, those all Buddhas will not going to pass beyond attaining to perfection. Therefore, thus the state of Buddhahood depends on beings and on Buddhas equally. Okay? Equally. There's no kind of like a difference. Yes, we could attain Buddhahood relying on Buddhas, as well as we could achieve enlightenment relying on beings. These are equal. Equally. This is what it means, Shantidevas now. Since this too is equal, reliable, equal reliance for myself to achieve enlightenment, then what kind of practice is it then that honors only Buddhas but not to beings then? These are tips, actually, I told you already. Right? Why Shantideva was saying this? To reduce our anger emotion towards other. Now this, his tips, but very great point, concluding, regardless, enemy or relatives, whosoever, it's not proper for me to get anger. Instead, you should rever, not anger, hate it. That's what it means. And then next one, Sambi yönden rangi min, debu leyin te tsungpar, semjen namla yönden yu, techil dedang nyambayins. And then now clarifying, next stanza is clarifying that we might going to doubt in this way. That Shantideva said, beings and Buddha, beings and on Buddhas equally, right? He said equally. And now he is making clarify what does it he mean equally here. Equal means, and then he is describing, not in the quality of their minds. I'm not talking about the equal in the quality of their mind. I'm not saying, oh, Buddhas and beings are, their qualities in their mind is equal. I'm not saying that equal. You need to understand when I used equal above. He used equal, right? He used word equal. Buddhas and beings are equal. Right? And then now he is clarifying what does he really means by equally. Not in the quality of their mind. There means this there refers to both beings and Buddhas. Right? But in the fruits they give are they alike. I'm talking from the perspective of fruitions, which we can achieve by relying on both of them. It's equal. We cannot achieve enlightenment just relying on Buddha, no. And we cannot achieve the fruition of enlightenment just relying on beings, no, as well. So that part, it's equal. The fruition that which we are looking for, it's enlightenment. that enlightened is provided by both of them, not one-sided. In beings too, such excellence resides, and therefore beings and Buddhas are the same. That's what equal mean. He's clarifying his word. He used it above stanza, equally, right? And that's what he means equally. Not talking the equally from the quality or from the characteristic perspective. He's making clear, he's clarifying that I'm not talking equally from the perspective of qualities or characteristics. I'm saying equally from the perspective of fruitions, which is enlightened, which we can achieve by relying on both. Both does this condition. Both does this cause. Is it? Both does this cause? Both help us. Yeah, both help us to achieve this fruition equally. From that perspective, I'm saying beings and the Buddhas are same. Techil dedanyam bayins chamsem denla chöba kang deni semjin chewa nit sanje debi sönam kang deyang sanje chewa nit. Okay, maybe we should stop here today. Okay, we should stop 114, stanza 114. So next weekend, oh, now next weekend we don't have Bodhicaryāvatāra. So from tomorrow, everybody knows that actually, right? I'm just reminding you that tomorrow evening from 7 to 9, and Kembo will going to continue his teaching about this modes of being. It's a very long title. I couldn't remember. Anyway, so that great teaching will going to be continuous. So please attend that teaching. That teaching is very helpful, especially for us. And then, yes, still we have a little bit more than 10 minutes. So if you have a question, we can discuss. If anyone have a question, you can unmute yourself and then speak up. Now everybody enlightened already. No question. That's good. So Yeah, we will. Yes, that's right. We will understand better whether you are truly enlightened or not when we take a test. Right now, it seems like you are enlightened already about this 6th chapter. Anyway, so if you don't have question, then we will leave. So dedication. Sonam de thamje zebani thobne nyebe dranam phamje ne shega nanchi walon chubai sibe zole ndo warsho jambal bawe jidara kembanda kundu zambe de ante shinde deda kunji jesu dalobji gewa deda damje rabdo mo gewa de shio Sonam yeshe tsozo ne, sonam yeshe le chonre, tamba kunyin tobarasho, sanje kusum nyebe chenlamda, chenye menjur dembe chenlamda, yenden meje dembe chenlamje, jedrango amelam drabarsho. By this beneficial activity, may I obtain omniscience, and having vanquished the harmful enemies, greed, anger, delusion, may I liberate all being tossed about helplessly by the waves of birth, aging, illness, and death in the ocean of becoming. By conforming to the knowledge of courageous Manjushri, Jambalyang, and in the same way as Samendabhadra, Kundusambo, and following their example, I dedicate perfectly all this virtue. By this virtue, may all being perfectly achieve the accumulation of merit, sunam, and wisdom, yeshe, and may they thereafter obtain the 2 holy bodies which result from these 2 accumulations. By the blessing of the Buddha, Sanjay, who obtained the 3 bodies, by the blessing of the immutable truth of the Dharmata, Chunyi, by the blessing of the infallible aspiration of the Sangha, Gendin, may this prayer of dedication be accomplished just as it is. Thank you. And so tomorrow we have teaching, as I said earlier. So we don't have Takin Itzok tomorrow. So from tomorrow until this next weekend, Sunday, that Saturday and Sunday, usual the practice, this Chet and Guru Yoga will going to perform. And other than these 2, except then these 2 practice in a weekend, rest of the practice we will not going to hold because of the teachings. So then take care, then see you tomorrow. Have a good day.